way. Get a good job with more pay than you're okay. Money, it's a gas. Grab that cash with both hands, then make a stash.
All right, how are we doing? Good, glad to hear it. So Jim hosting and Jimmy doing the teaching, that's a little too much. My name is Jimmy Ray Scruggs. My parents loved me, didn't they? But my dad was Jimmy and my grandpa was Jim. So with family, I went by Ray. So for today, we'll let Jim host and Ray can be up here teaching if that's okay. All right, so what are we doing here? All right. Do we remember the game? What's the game called? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Win Ryan's money. All right, awesome. So we're going to get started right away with a little bit of a game show. So today we're going to invite up Aaron McDowell. Aaron, there we go. All right, come on up, Aaron. Yeah. So Aaron gets to play Win Ryan's Money today because he filled out a Connect card, right, Aaron? Yeah, so easy to do. Jim gave you instructions on how to do that today. So if you want to play Win Ryan's Money next week, then there's your opportunity. Fill out your Connect card. So Aaron, we have this magic wheel here, and all you've got to do is spin it to find out what you're playing for. So here we go. It's spinning, it's spinning. $20, all right. So, $20, I hope I have $20. Okay, we're good. Okay, so here we go. You've just got to answer one question for $20, and the question is, I have still left up Ryan's question from last week. So it would be great if we could actually find the question for this week so that I can ask that. Or, yeah, what is the question? There you go. So are you prepared?
Ready as I'm gonna be.
Did you study lots this week?
Might have.
Oh, well, okay, all right. All right, well, here we go. Here's your question, okay? According to a USA Today article this week, the average credit card debt for Americans that actually carry credit card balance is A, $463, B, $1,756, C, $4,127, or D, $10,563. Take a moment. You can check with the crowd or whatever, or you can literally look over on that screen over there and see what the...
What do you guys think? What do you think? C? You can C? I'm hearing C's and D's, so I don't know what the grade average here.
D, yes, D is correct. All right, excellent. You have me nervous for a minute, but okay, here we go. Now, you know what? Ryan's not here. You know, no, but no, it's okay. So here's the $20, but I would like you to give you a chance to double this. All right, so let's play Win Jimmy's Money. So ready? 1, 2, 3. Win Jimmy's Money. You want to do it?
Sure.
Double or nothing?
Double or nothing.
Double or nothing. All right, here we go. This question is, according to that same article, 73% of Americans struggle to afford anything beyond basic needs, and a percentage of them took on credit debt to cover them. Is that A, 10%, B, 20%, C, 1/3, or D, 95%? You want to take a second here? Oh, I hear some answers already.
Hearing a lot of C's. That's kind of what I was thinking. C also.
C is absolutely correct. All right, let's give Aaron a hand. All right. Yeah, apparently they both get $20 is what I'm hearing here. Congratulations. Welcome. All right, let's give a hand for Aaron there. Aaron, thank you so much for playing. We appreciate you. And who was joining you, by the way, Aaron?
It's my son Wyatt.
Wyatt. Let's give Wyatt a round of a hand. Yeah. All right. Excellent. Wow. Aaron, Wyatt, thank you so much. It is common to think of debt as mismanagement of finances, but there are often extenuating circumstances. That $10,563 average from that first question is up from $7,000 and change in 2022 and $8,000 in 2023. Now, I have to tell you, if you couldn't figure it out by the way I'm dressed, I had a tea time at 1 o'clock this afternoon, which playing in the winter was part of the budgeting talk that Ryan had last week. It's half price in the winter, so budgeting my money, I get to play more in the winter. However, because of snow on the ground, that tea time was canceled. So it's sad, but the good news is I only had 15 minutes prepared because I wanted to get out of here, and now I think I have plenty of time, right? No. Okay, sorry. I apologize. All right, the unplanned medical bill can come up, right? Especially in a country that doesn't provide universal health care. We have rising inflation costs. We hear that all the time. And I have to pause here for a second. And I have to acknowledge the news from the last couple of days because I have no doubt that it's causing some anxiety for some. The imposing of tariffs on Mexico and Canada, further tariffs on China, probably have people worried. I mean, inflation has been hard. It's been hard in terms of rising food costs when wages aren't rising at the same rate. And now we're talking about tariffs, and everybody's thinking that that could cause those to rise even further. I'm not going to get into an economics discussion. There are economists that would tell you that tariffs will increase the value of the dollar and the dollar will go further, but that's not what we feel right now. What we feel right now is anxiety, a lot of us, about what those tariffs are going to mean as far as my pocketbook and my ability to make those basic needs that we already talked about 73% of people are struggling to do. And inflation and medical bills aren't the only issue. You have the possibility of car trouble or losing a job or taking on caring for somebody that you weren't expecting to care for. There's all kinds of reasons that financial struggles can happen. And the first little fill-in for those of you that like to do that is that financial struggles can lead to fear and paralysis. Fear and paralysis. See, the reality of financial struggle is that many of us will feel stretched thin. We'll feel burdened by debt. We're unsure of how to move forward, feel stuck in quicksand. And I just want to take a moment and acknowledge that feeling, that fear is real. Those anxieties are real. And the thing is that we can often feel that the rich are the ones that benefit from investments and rewards, while the poor deal with higher interest rates and limited opportunities. See, there's this insidiousness with credit card rewards. A lot of you are probably excited at the end of the year to find out how many airline miles you've accumulated over the years, or use your rewards to buy different things like gift cards or go out to dinner. And that's great and wonderful, and I encourage you to take advantage of those rewards. I'm not saying not to do that, but what I am saying is there's an insidiousness to that. Because see, credit card companies don't just do that out of the generosity of their heart, right? They do that by charging high interest rates, and especially to those people that we're talking about that had that $10,000 where the balance is carried forward. Or they pass on the fees to merchants. And so you have merchants that are paying 3% for every time they swipe a credit card, they pay 3%. So that 2% credit card reward, or if you're lucky, maybe it's 4%, comes from somewhere. The insidiousness, though, of it is that it widens the rich-poor gap. The person that can't get that rewards credit card, the person that has to pay with cash or with a debit card, and that's their only means to pay, well, see, the merchant that's paying that 3% credit card fee has to pass those costs on to consumers, right? And so when those fees happen and prices go up, the people that get the credit card rewards get the benefit back from it. But those people that don't get those rewards, that's the dilemma. It just widens the gap because I'm paying cash for an inflated price so that the credit card companies can have the money to pass on to those that are the more fortunate. The further in debt you become, the higher the interest rate. The system can seem like it's rigged. It really can. I mean, that's just those ideas. I could sit up here and talk for 50 minutes about the practices for loans for Black Americans in the 20th century and how it kept them from home ownership, which led to generational discrepancies in wealth. It took away that opportunity for generational wealth through home ownership. There's practices like that all the time. But understanding that a lot of times the system may feel rigged against us can't keep us from trying to find our way forward. See, fear and inaction can hold us back. See, we're going to talk in a minute about the parable of the talents, and like the servant of the parable of the talents, sometimes we feel stuck and we're afraid of making the wrong move. We're afraid of making the wrong decision. And that fear, that paralysis can be incredibly real. So the question we have to ask ourselves, is there wisdom in Scripture? Is there a path to help us navigate all of these financial obstacles, these social injustices, these realities? And can we do it with faith and creativity? Creativity is one of the core values here at Crossroads, and I want to talk to you that creativity is a path forward. We're going to look at the Bible for that wisdom. We're not going to look at it in terms of dogmatic rules, but we're going to look at it for guidance. So what does Scripture offer us? How many of you have heard this verse? Proverbs 22:7. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. We've all probably heard that at some point in our lives. It would be really easy right now, reading that verse, to see it as condemnation of having any form of debt. And that's not what I want to happen today. I'm not encouraging you to go out and rack up a whole lot of debt, but what I want to talk about here is that it's not about condemnation. Proverbs 22:7 is about awareness. See, when we talk about the time of writing of that verse, that proverb, you could become enslaved. You could become indentured for your debt. That's not the case today, right? There is no longer what we call debtor's prison. But this verse is really about understanding. It's about understanding that social issues existed then, just as I talked about social issues existing now. Social issues existed then. And the writers in the Old Testament had an understanding that those social issues were at play. The Old Testament gives us direction to periodically overcome this social disparity. If we look at Deuteronomy 15, the first two verses there show how debt forgiveness was built in to God's economic vision, a practice designed to restore dignity and opportunity. It was called the sabbatical year, and every 7 years, the calling was to forgive debt. Now, our laws are Judeo-Christian, and there's probably a bankruptcy attorney in here that could tell you that Chapter 7 bankruptcy you can file every 8 years. Not exactly 7, but pretty close. And no, I am not encouraging you, again, to go into debt, and I'm not encouraging you to file bankruptcy. I'm just acknowledging the fact that there's a reality of this social injustice. And it wasn't just every 7 years that sabbatical year had happened. There was also every 7 times 70 plus 1, every 50 years, that the calling was for people living at that time of the Old Testament to release those that were in bondage, to release those that were enslaved. And you can find that in Leviticus in chapter 25, verses 8 through 10. See, the writers understood that social injustice, of the systems, of the need for social change. But where is the light here? So if we look to Matthew 25, to the parable of the talents, let's go through a little bit of that together, because Matthew 25 gives us a call to creativity, right? We talk about it, creativity being one of the core values here at Crossroads. So let's look at what this verse offers us in terms of wisdom. So right away in Matthew 25, verse 14, we hear, again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. First, he gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last. Dividing it in proportion to their abilities, he then left on his trip. The servant who received the 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earn 5 more. The servant who had 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. See, this story is going to continue on with the master returning and the servants presenting what they had done with the bags that were given to him. When presented with the 10 bags from the first servant, the master says, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." And see, he says the same thing to the servant that had turned 2 bags into 4. He took the money from the third servant and gave it to the first. The thing is that each of us is entrusted with something, whether that's money, time, skill, or opportunity. Whether it's the 1 bag, the 2 bags, the 5 bags, each of us has something. I realize at this point that saying that probably comes across as a little insensitive from a white, able-bodied, neurotypical, well, for the most part, middle-aged, male. I realize that, and I recognize that, and I recognize that especially with the last 2 weeks and what that has meant for many people in terms of how they view their particular opportunities in this country. But I would say this, that even though I'm probably one of the ones that has been offered those 5 bags, I still believe that everybody to some degree has opportunity. And I believe that everybody has at least 1 bag. We are fortunate to live in this country, even during these tumultuous times. There is a benefit to being an American compared to those that may be living in a developing country somewhere else. So there is opportunity. It may not be a fair playing field. It very well may not be. And I know it can feel that way, and I know we talked about how the system can feel rigged, but there is opportunity. We just have to be creative in figuring out how to take advantage of that opportunity, how to take advantage of whatever we are given. See, the parable is just that. It's a story. It's a metaphor from Jesus. It illustrated that we may not all have great amounts of money or it may not be an equal playing field, but we all do have some type of talent, some type of skill. We have time on our hands, some of us, some type of opportunity. At least that's how it's supposed to feel. I don't want to make this a political discussion, but I do acknowledge that many of us are questioning what's going on, and many of us don't know how to feel right now. And that all of this has the propensity to bring even more fear into financial security. But the more the fear comes in, the more we have to find the creativity in this uncertainty. See, the first two servants, they take action and they see growth, while that third buried the opportunity in fear. I'm not trying to mitigate that you feel fear, and I'm not saying that it's not justified. What I'm hoping that we can see, what I'm hoping we get out of this, is that the lesson is not about being perfect. It's about participating. If we let fear move us to bury our talents, we are going to be stuck in the same system of injustice, the same rigged system that creates that injustice, and we're going to continue to feel the heavy weight of that system that seems to be unfair. But I don't want you to miss this. God invites us to use creativity, resources, and community to navigate financial challenges. Not just for ourselves, but for the well-being of others as well. So how can you live that out in your normal, everyday, peacemaking life? So let's look at those three ways that we can do that. The first is going to be to shift from the idea of scarcity to the idea of creativity. Instead of the idea of thinking, I don't have enough, ask, what can I use? How can I use what I have a little bit differently? What are my gifts? What are my passions? What would you do if you weren't worried about failure? Have you ever thought that? What would you do if you weren't worried about failure? What is it that you're passionate about? What is it that you know that you have a talent for? See, we have to, when we're faced with financial difficulty, when we're faced with financial uncertainty, maybe we have to look to shift to that creativity. Maybe we have to look for creative ways to increase our income. Has everybody heard of side gigs, the gig economy? Often for people, maybe our main job is not what our passion is. I hope that it is. I hope everybody finds your passion and that's what you live into, but maybe it's not. But maybe your side gig can become your passion. I'm fortunate. My main job is this job, and I'm lucky and fortunate to be able to participate in an organization that shares my values. And then I have a side gig, and I get to teach. I get to be an adjunct instructor at a community college and get to spend time, well, hopefully developing minds. That might be arguable. Let's ask them, not me. But there's opportunities, those side gigs, the idea of skill sharing or bartering or starting a small business, all of these are opportunities to move scarcity with creativity. There's going to be power in small steps when we think about this. When we talk about the burden of debt, we start with one small step. We find one debt that we can pay off. Or we create a savings plan where we put back just a little at a time just to get used to it. Just those small steps. And it's there that we move from that idea of scarcity. The other thing is to align your values, align your finances with your values. You know, Ryan's gonna, or I guess actually it's gonna be Rick, he's gonna jump into the idea of spending, and that's part of the fun for Crossroads, right? That core value of fun. So we talk about spending money, but I beg you to spend intentionally. You know, support local businesses, support ethical brands, support companies that are investing in their community. For those that are fortunate, there are other opportunities. Consider things like microloans or community-driven financial support to help others that are in that cycle of poverty figure out a way to break that cycle of poverty. Remember, this is a system. This is systemic injustice. And we all have to work together to be able to overcome it. The final piece here is to lean into community solutions. There is an opportunity for us to look for ways to share resources. There are things like community lending programs. There's the opportunity for carpooling. There's the opportunity to share childcare between families. All of those things are community solutions. There's also the opportunity to start a financial literacy group where you and others that are sharing some stage of life together can share information that you can help each other to make informed and wise decisions. There's opportunity in community. See, Acts 2:44 and 45 revealed that early Christians had this radical generosity. They were sharing resources so that no one was left behind. And we have an option and an opportunity to do that in our own lives. Support those local businesses. Offer those microloans. Share our community resources. All of those are an opportunity. How would all of this make me a better person? How would it all make the world a better place? Well, I would say that faithful stewardship isn't about having more. It's about using what we have wisely and boldly. And that's the word I want to focus on. I want you to focus on boldly. Find your passion. Use your passion. I know the system seems rigged. I know that debt can feel overwhelming, but you can find a way to take small steps, hopefully. You can find a way to overcome that. You can find a way to, instead of digging the hole in fear, to take the opportunity, to take the talent, to take the time, to act wisely, to act boldly, to find some type of solution. Whether that's with you, whether that's with a group, whether that's with community. Fear keeps us stuck, but action, however small that action is, will move us towards freedom. Does anybody know what today is? Groundhog's Day? Did I hear that? Yeah. That was not what I was going for. It is February 2nd. It's also my oldest daughter's birthday today. So Chloe, happy birthday. You don't even know her. Why are you clapping for her? But no, that wasn't even what I was going for. See, February 2nd of 2020, 5 years ago today, was my first day on this staff at Crossroads. I had 2 people clap. Don't everybody jump in. No, I was fortunate. Ryan came on in September of 2019. I actually came on and volunteered for about 6 weeks starting in December, and then came on staff just in time for, what was that thing that happened in January, February 2020? Oh gosh, I can't remember. Anyways, yeah, so that, it used to be there for a while during the pandemic, just me and Glenn Gilbert were the only people in the building for a long period of time, it sure seemed like. But see, when I came on staff here, there were some financial realities. There were some financial realities for this church. This church had a $5.3 million mortgage and was paying $23,000 a month in interest and not much more. This church had multiple credit cards and was not paying the balance every month. They were paying interest on those credit cards. And I'm not saying it's because I came on staff that that's not the case anymore. It was people much smarter than me, but getting groups together and thinking and figuring out and taking those small steps. So the first small steps were getting down. The church has one credit card now, doesn't have these accounts and doesn't pay interest each month. But that was one small step, just moving forward with that, right? But the creativity came with a group of people, our land development team, and some of them are here today. Carol, say hi. Carol helped lead that team and continues to lead beyond that team functioning together. But that team turned the $5.3 million worth of debt into the idea of leaning into our values. And so we're going to see affordable housing on this property in years to come. And not only did that happen where we're going to see that affordable housing, but we also eliminated debt for Crossroads. And you know, we talk about the 5 unacceptable truths, and 2 of them were poverty and illiteracy. And when that land development team got together, that was on their board, was the idea to be able to find a way for affordable housing. And that's exactly what happened. But it took a generous congregation to make it happen. It took a generous congregation that was willing to lean into community as a whole. Because there was definitely an opportunity to sell that land for more money. I don't know when that would have happened, but the value of it was such, if we were willing to sell to anybody, that we may have been able to sell it more down the road. But part of the reason why I am thankful that I work for Crossroads, that I'm a part of this church, is because the congregation, because that development team lived into those values and made the decision to work towards affordable housing here in Loveland, where it's needed so much. And financial struggles aren't over. You know, this is a difficult space to be a progressive Christian church. And I am thankful for all of you that joined in community to support the Peace Worth It campaign. I am truly thankful for that. And Ryan mentioned that he would, I'm stepping at a camera, that he would have this book for you. And we did get the book. So those of you that are looking for it, it talks about fundamentalist religion. It talks about the idea of religious authoritarianism, my favorite 2 words. And so that book, if you go out to the Welcome Center, Amber has that book for you. And she would be happy to give you your copy. It's a strange time. I understand that. But I am thankful for this group of people and what you've been willing to do for this church for finances. And I encourage you to look at Crossroads and those small steps that were taken and moving with creativity from scarcity, for taking those small steps, for leaning into our values and for working as a community as to be a potential answer in your own life, in your own finances, in your group, your community, your family. There's opportunity to live into the idea of creativity, which is what those group of people have done, what this church has done, and continues to do, because the financial struggles haven't stopped. But we are getting our heads together and looking for ways to use this beautiful building, use this bag of silver that you're sitting in right now in different ways to promote financial freedom for this church. We have been fortunate enough to lease the student center to an adult day program. Another adult program is leasing room 211. We're looking to expand into things like a marriage business. We have a Latin A church that's going to meet up in 207 after this service is over. We're looking for creative solutions, and I hope that you will look for creative solutions in your financial struggles or the financial struggles of those that you love, because the opportunity is there. But as you do it, lean into your values, lean into your community, and lean into your opportunity. So, we always wrap up with the idea of what is God inviting you into today, and I'll try to keep this brief, but I would say that the first thing that's an opportunity that you could do this week is to take one bold step towards financial freedom. Whether it's making a budget like Ryan mentioned last week, whether it's finding a small debt and paying that off, whether it's starting a new income stream through some type of gig work or looking to start a small business. Choose just one intentional step. Or maybe you can invest in a relationship. You know, relationships are just as important as finances. Or you can invest in your community this week. Reach out to somebody who you can offer wisdom, who you can mentor, or find somebody to mentor you and support you in your financial journey. We have an opportunity to offer hope, offer encouragement, offer that helping hand. Or maybe it's just as simple as that you're going to practice gratitude and reimagine possibilities. Instead of focusing on what's missing, maybe we can just take a moment this week and recognize what's already in our hands. Maybe you can ask the question, where might God be opening a door I hadn't considered before? I encourage you, look at your talents, look at your hopes, look at your desires, look at your passions. Look for some type of creative solution if you have financial struggles, even in this scary, scary time. Seek that creative solution to financial struggles, utilizing what's going to bring you joy in the process. If you haven't figured out from the band sneaking up behind me, we are about to take communion. And as we do each week, everyone is invited to the table. And as we come to the table, we remember God's provision is about more than financial security. It's about trusting that we are not alone in our struggles. See, Jesus modeled a way of generosity, abundance, and shared life, calling us to do the same. Communion is an invitation to let go of fear and to step into faith, trusting that small steps matter. As you take communion, I encourage you to take a moment and reflect. Just what's one area where you need to trust God with your financial journey? So the elements are either at your table or at the stations positioned in the corner of the rooms. The body of Christ broken for you, the blood of Christ spilled for you.